Well, the state of philosophy is something that worries me. I think we are 20% of what we should be as a country, as a nation. We have more than 60 billionaires. I wish they give away 2% of the wealth every year for the greater common good. I think it's very important to have a percentage. Many of them said, I've given away 50%, but they're putting money into endowments where they're not spending enough money. I tweeted recently about the biggest donor in India, where I said, you've got to spend more money rather than keep money in the endowment. Because I believe keeping money in endowment is capitalization of misery. There is misery today. You have to spend to alleviate the misery. If you spend to alleviate the misery, there won't be misery tomorrow. But if you spend little because you want to build a corpus and the corpus has to be big and you're going to spend over a period of time, then the misery is going to continue. If you solve misery, people take care of themselves, right? I think it's very essential for philanthropists to look at the large challenges of this country. And let me tell you, at this point of time, I'm getting more and more scared about the future of my country. Let me give you some data. Every year for the last 30 years, we have produced 2.5 crore babies. It's been stagnant for some time. Population is stabilizing, out of which 2.4 crore attain the age of majority. 30% will get married or may go into agriculture. 70% want jobs. So 1.8 crore want jobs. For the last 10 years, we have got maybe 80-90 lakh jobs per year. So the 10 crore youngsters in the age group of 21 to 31 without jobs, underemployed all over the country. And their anger and their frustration is coming out in the Gujar agitation, the Jaj agitation, the Patel agitation, the Kama agitation, the stone throwers in Srinagar and everywhere else. Because a large part of that angst and anger is a lack of jobs, lack of economic activity and nothing to do. Because these are young people in the prime of the youth with enormous amount of energy and they got no way to spend that energy. So I think it's extremely important that we work and we do more, and if we don't do more, we have to clear up the mess later. And the next 10 years, if we don't produce the kind of jobs, by 2025, we'll have 20 crore people in the age group of 21 to 42, 45 who don't have enough jobs, and they're not going to keep quiet. They're going to protest, they're going to create violence, and we're going to be disrupted by society, and the rest of us will have to suffer. So we have an obligation to do that. You can't be an oasis of plenty and a very tall multi-story building in a sea of slums of misery. It can't happen. If you want to enjoy your wealth, you want to have a good life, your environment has got to be benign enough to allow you that, because you're not an island. We're a very large country. And I think it's very important for our billionaires and it's very important for everybody to participate and to give back in a very substantial manner. And give back to run large programs. Let me tell you some large programs. For example, if you had to give medical insurance to 10 crore people, medical insurance of 2 lakhs costs 1,000 rupees. That is 10,000 crores. Now 10,000 crores for people who are $60 billion. $60 billion, $260 billion of wealth. Now $260 billion is something like 15 lakh crores. It's 1% of the wealth. If they give 1% of the wealth for about 10 crore people, they can possibly do medical insurance. Why can't they give scholarships? Now, if you are to create a scholarship pool with all these people, 1% is 15,000 crores. 15,000 crores, 1%, if you give one scholarship of even a lakh, which is too much, or 20 per crore, that's about maybe about 3 lakh youngsters can get a scholarship of 50,000 rupees. That's enormous. So you can impact large number of people. So we need large programs in human resource development, in higher education and in health. And there are structural ways to do this where large monies can be pumped in, and if you're able to do it in a PPP, it will work. For example, Akshaya Patra, we spend 285 crores a year. About 60-65% is given by government. And we couldn't spend 265, couldn't raise 285 crores. We raised the balance, but 65% is given by government. It's the most successful private-public partnership in India. So I think we need to do that for our own good, and that's my message. The second thing which we have to do is, because people don't display the kind of compassion and sensitivity required for their own good, we need to have the force of law to force them. That's why I'm more and more coming to the conclusion that we need to have an inheritance tax again, structured in a very different manner, to force our billionaires and very rich people to give away much more in their lifetime. Let us say you have an inheritance tax which is 25-30% of your wealth, and it comes on a demise. And in credit of the inheritance tax, all the money that you've given away to charities under Section 80G of the Income Tax Act can be taken as credit. Suppose you have 100 crores and you die, you've got to pay 30 crores tax. But in the last 10 years, if you've given away 30 crores in 80G, that can be set off against your tax. It's one way of forcing you to give away most of your money. So your children inherit maybe the residue amount after what you are given, which is perfectly fine. Because in democracy, inherited wealth is a great danger. Because inherited wealth creates feudalism. Inherited wealth creates a compulsion for rich people to capture politics, capture power and retain power and not distribute it. Well, I think the philanthropists in India should fund institutions which can take care of large problems that affect us. What are the large problems that affect us? Health affects us. Lack of good education affects us. We need 20-30 good universities to be set up by these people, which will give decent and high quality education at reasonable prices. Education, schools, set up hundreds and thousands of schools in remote areas where children can get a good education. Policy, because you need more and more think tanks so the new ideas can come, because you can't believe that government is the repository of all wisdom. And lastly, I think we must have some agencies which work in creating values amongst people. Because at the end of the day, a human being is distinguished from other animals by the values that they have. Values of compassion, values of sensitivity, values of being considerate of others, and values of sustainability, etc. So I think an educational program for that. I think these are some of the things that you must do in a very big way, which will have a significant impact on young people and on society. And let me tell you, the last 25 years have been extraordinary for India. We've grown from a GDP of 275 billion to 2.25 trillion. We've grown from a country which has 50% poverty to 20% poverty today, and we are in a much better position today, and the next 20 years are going to be very exciting. So we're doing many of the right things, and we need to accelerate that. So this hope that tomorrow will be better is something. You know, life is very fragile. Life is fragile. You never know what happens to you. Life is a gift. It's not a right, it's a gift. You don't know what's going to happen. We're all mortal, right? So every day if you see progress, you see that tomorrow is a better day, you see things happening, that the joy that you have to accept. And you have to accept the society moves in its own pace. Things will change in one pace with people. You're dealing with people, not inanimate objects like buildings where you can build something in 3-4 years. People's mindset have to change, people's behavior have to change, and for that to come about takes 1, 2, 3 generations. Now I'm doing well because my great-grandfather sacrificed something. My grandfather sacrificed something, my parents sacrificed, I'm doing very well. My children are doing much better because they are building on top of what I got. So what they got is something that the forefathers sacrificed for. So it takes generation. So I think the small things and the small joys that you get along, and that's what should keep you going.